Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all that you would like to share, make sure to leave them down in the comment section. Gathering of Kings, Discovery. Gathering of Kings are a Swedish AOR and hard rock band slash supergroup, probably on the better side of that genre for me. My first exposure to the band was their latest album as of recording this video, Enigmatic, which I covered in a review recall a few months ago, and had a blast with that, so naturally I was quite pleased to see that my next viewer suggestion would be on the album just before Enigmatic, 2020's Discovery. So let's not waste any more time, let's just dive in. What are my thoughts on Discovery? Let's find out as I review it, track by track. We will start with the singles, with there being 4 of them. The first being Heaven on the Run, opening up with these plunky yet saccharine keys, making way for a surprisingly feathery and synthetic beat. The percussion doesn't hit as hard as I typically expect from the genre, which results in the track feeling very keyboard and guitar dominated, which works in some cases, like the solo being very appealing, but the verses just feel so light and lacks that signature impact this style delivers. The vocals here, which I believe are delivered by Rick Altsey, are so raspy and gristly that it almost feels like he forgot to clear his throat before recording. It's still a good enough track, but definitely an abnormal lead single choice when there are clearly better options for that role here on the record. The second single, Moonlight, is such an example. It's just better than the lead single in pretty much every front. The percussion is more dominant, helping to guide in this bass lick, the luscious guitar work, and these nostalgic twinkly keys. Plus, this track has both a guitar and a synth solo. I mean, it is peak AOR. Vocalist Johnny Lindqvist handles this one, and he feels way more like your traditional hard rock vocalist. Very powerful and monumental in his delivery. Such a fun track. Highly recommend giving this one a listen. The third single, Kiss From Above, which given the title paired with this glossy synthetic motif on the first few seconds, I kind of expected to be this cheesy, over-the-top power ballad, and yeah, it kind of is. It's got that signature semi-slow tempo you'd expect from the style, extremely synth-dominated while the percussion pounds at a leisurely pace, and the guitar solo absolutely shreds. What really makes or breaks these tracks, however, is the vocalist, and in this case with Alexander Frisborg, it was done tastefully with a bit of throaty chant to resonate across the instrumental. Good tune. And the fourth and final single, From a Whisper to a Scream, instantly brings the groove in with this melodic synth lick and rhythmic percussion, paving the way for the playful and more tame guitar to usher the track in fully. The song doesn't have an obscenely compact mix like some of the other songs here, instead really fine-tuning melody and texture. There's especially some nice palpable bass and a prominent solo to highlight that approach. Love the deeper, rougher vocalist to present a tasteful juxtaposition to the cleaner instrumental. He really stands out in the best way, even if he doesn't overdo it in a typically flashy manner. Very nice single choice, and let's see how the rest of the album compares. Now for the rest of the tracks. Opener, Star Sleeper, which is just a minute-long instrumental introduction, doesn't do too much except provide some angelic yet bubbly synth work, painting a nice kaleidoscopic image, but that's pretty much it. Still works well for an intro, but I'm not going to bother keeping it around. Riders of the Light really sets the bar high for opening full tracks. It kicks off pretty muted though, just a simple guitar riff and percussion, but when those synths and sparingly funky bass come in to aerate the beat and make it more full, it gains an irresistible vibe. I also adore this chorus. It feels powerful yet not ostentatious, even with its swarm of vocalists. The lyrics are your standard fare, ready to battle, come to the call and ride on. It's a fantastic performance and almost feels shorter than its assigned 4-minute runtime. Really like this one. December is a punchy as fuck banger, driven by this crisp, impactful percussion that pushes the track to the faster tempo I prefer from the genre. I would also say the title is pretty indicative of the sound, as the synth and guitar work almost gives the song a snowy, brisk atmosphere. Johnny returns to vocals on this one, and I think he's probably my favorite of the vocalists in this group. He doesn't have any unique characteristics, but none of his are really a negative. I think he's the best definition of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and he really excels on this record. Very fun tune, probably a highlight. Highway to Paradise is a track that really lets the shining AOR magnetism come out. While this instrumental may come off as simple, extremely generic percussion with some twinkly synths, chugging revs of the guitar, and these blasts of keys, it just feels like so much more. There's a lot of texture and volume to this mix, while also featuring Alexander again on vocals, and man, do his vocals really soar with that kind of garbly, deeper tone. It's very nice. The One That Got Away is an emotive power ballad at a bit of an odd place in the record, almost halfway through perfectly. And I'll admit it's a little bit of a pace killer for the album, even though it does harbor some sweeping synths and thunderous drums with a pretty great solo tacked on too. Doesn't really give me too much else to talk about. I have heard better ballads in the genre and at more appropriate spots in other albums, but this is still a good listen. Lorelei is probably one of the rougher tracks on the record, which is hard to believe with the genre in question, known for flamboyant synth work and impassioned cheesy vocals, but this one seems to have much less of those imbued features. The guitar has a more obvious presence here, and the percussion really drives the track home as the synths provide more of a garnish in the background. The solo has a satisfyingly gradual build in intensity as the vocalist has a bit more of grit, which works here. Yeah, another good tune. Revelation is the grooviest track on the record. I love the skipping percussion, the blast of synths, the zippy guitar riff, and the bass work being some of the crunchiest on the album. It all makes for a lively tune that is such a fun jam. Fantastic vocals here as well that invoke a powerful nostalgia to bands like Whitesnake, who I also really enjoy. Yeah, amazing song, another highlight for me. And finally, the closer, Final Hour, a triumphant 6.5-minute finisher, and it is frankly glorious. It's not a power ballad, yet not some splendorous, opulent cheese fest, but it does still feel like it has a lot more magnitude, partially distributed by Rick Alsey's gravelly voice, which I admittedly did not care for on the lead single, but it just feels so much more immense over this trotting percussion, jabs of synths, plus a luscious keyboard solo is like the cherry on top of it all. Great closing track. Overall, this Gathering of Kings album was pretty spectacular, very tightly clinging to its stoner roots while still managing to sound different with each consecutive track, mostly thanks to the plethora of vocalists this band has, almost feeling like a compilation rather than a typical studio album. The instrumentals across this album were pretty much flawless. I think the only complaint one could even generate is it's a bit samey, but even then, the spanning range of voices singing over them make them all feel different. It's truly a wonderful, wonderful record, and should be up there with one of modern AOR's crowning gems. I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.